Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of of Uncanny Media, the show. I was almost going to say the Uncanny Spirits Club, which is what I had. I still kind of do it. I'm way behind on episodes, but that was kind of the beginning of this whole podcasting journey, doing spirits reviews and whatnot. No, it's Uncanny Media, the show. I'm a bit out of sorts. I'm in a poor mood. I'm a little irritated. I don't really want to get into the specifics on why. I'm just kind of not on the right track tonight. But we're going to plow on through it. We're going to do our best because we have a job to do. And our job's important. I do have some Guinness. I'm going to be drinking that. And the kitten over there is crying for some reason. But it is, as of this recording, I guess it's past now. It's after midnight. I'm super late. I have not even done my Twitch stream yet. That got pushed back through circumstances beyond my control. So I have to do that after this is done, in a kind of a reverse. Usually I do the Twitch stream first, and then I do this. I do the podcast episode afterwards, and then the podcast goes live the next morning. Like I said, you're going to be listening to this sometime on Wednesday. It'll debut at 11 a.m. For those of you spying on my podcast, and you know who you are, who shouldn't be tuning in because you're supposed to be, through the various lawyers, not associating with me, okay? You're not supposed to be doing that. To the person who moved their show to Wednesday now, to try to compete with this show, you do remember, don't you, that my show is at 11 a.m., and your show is 12 hours later, so there's no competition, and there wasn't any anyway, because I'm better than you, and my content is better than yours. So now that I've run off various people who tuned in who didn't want to hear me go on some kind of egotistical, assumed rant, I could apologize for that. I'm not going to, but I am going to say I don't intend to just rant constantly about these kind of things. I don't think these people are worth my time. And I'm not being paranoid either. I know for a fact that these people are doing things to try to step in the way of me and my audience. It's not working, clearly, but they're delusional and they're going to keep trying anyway. But welcome. Like I said, it would be St. Patrick's Day if it was just a couple hours earlier. Hence the Guinness. I got Guinness specifically for St. Patrick's Day, and we didn't go as all out. Like, we don't usually go out to places, like we don't go bar hopping or doing the crawls and stuff like that, right? We don't make a big outside event of it. We stay here at home usually. But we did do, and some years we get Irish whiskey and we do various things and have some various activities, and we didn't really do much of that this year. This year, as a family, we had an Irish breakfast that we made here at home for dinner. So we had hash browns and bacon and sausages and tomatoes and mushrooms and various things. I've had some Baileys with my Guinness, doing Irish Slammers. They had another name that is kind of culturally insensitive that I'm not going to mention on here, and that's what I knew them as. But a shot of Baileys with a small amount of Guinness that you mix together quick and then you just throw it back, that's a particular kind of drink. And the more modern name for it, I suppose, is an Irish Slammer, I think. Although other people might call it different things. It's not quite a cement mixer. That's something else, but... So I had a few of those. I'm finishing off the Guinness now. I've got a couple of bottles, and I'm going to probably finish them off tonight. Or this morning, or whatever time you want to believe this is. And we didn't do a whole lot, like I said. We had the dinner. My daughter watched some episodes of Pokemon on the TV. And that was about the extent of it, you know. Not real wild, not real crazy. I'm not... I don't have any whiskey, so I'm not going to be going through that. I'm not doing a special St. Patrick's Day stream like I've done in the past. So kind of mild this year, on the down low, if people still say that. I don't know. Do they say that? I don't know. But welcome. Weather report, because, you know, we can't get through an episode of a podcast done by an old man without talking about the weather, at least briefly, in some fashion. We had several days of really nice, warm weather. I mean, we had rain, we had wind. We had a couple days of ridiculous wind. Like, the wind was just out of control. And, did a lot of damage in the neighborhood. There was a branch that came down off of a tree around the corner, and we had to call the city about that because it had fallen on some lines. I thought they might be power lines, but it ended up they were phone lines, phone and cable lines. But they took the tree down, took care of that. They didn't like it. They griped about it. They complained about it because they said, "Oh, the city doesn't handle this." And, well, but they still took care of it, so I guess you do now. But we had one day where there were tornado watches slightly farther south of here. Technically, it was in my county as well, but we were at the very northernmost tip of it, and we didn't get much. And then after like 4 or 5 days of warm, chaotic kind of weather, it snowed again. It just abruptly blizzarded, and then it melted almost that same day. We had a nice warm day again, and then it snowed again today. Well, yesterday and did today. And that's been the week. So it's been kind of crazy. I mean, March is like that sometimes. As of this recording, it is March. And we've been known in this part of Ohio to have snow upwards into April, sometimes May. I think once we had snow in June in a weird situation at the very beginning of June. But so it has been known to happen. So we'll have to see how the weather is going to treat us throughout the rest of spring. You know, it's supposed to be spring, so we're going to see how that goes. As a consequence, it's been having havoc with my sinuses. I'm not sick again. I want to assure everybody I'm not getting sick again. Just getting some mild allergy symptoms because of the pressure in the air and the way the temperature changes, and some of the plants thought, oh yeah, it's time to put out some pollen, and other plants were like, no, it's not, and then they changed their mind because the weather changed again. They're like, oh, pull it back. So, yeah, I have got a little bit of sniffles and stuff, and but nothing to be worried about. We're not sliding back into the months and months and months of just cold symptoms constantly. I'm sure I have made this announcement, but I'm going to expand on it and do some reminders. For those who enjoy the music I've put out in the past, my new single has been out since the 9th. It's called Anchor. It's got 4 tracks. It's on Spotify, iTunes, Amazon, YouTube, wherever. And the full album that it's attached to will be out June 5th of this year. June 5th, 2026. It's called Kingmaker. It's by the project Spider in the Hall, one word. And there's going to be a listening party on Twitch on June 2nd, a few days ahead of time, where I'm going to chit-chat a little bit, maybe have some drinks, and I'm going to play the album live, start to finish, front to back, cover to cover, and then hang out a little bit afterwards before I do my regular evening game stream. So that's June 2nd at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Twitch. My Twitch channel is twitch.tv/DMGRGN. Okay? And if you find me on Facebook, then you'll see I have a lot of posts about it. I have an event listing, all that good stuff, in preparation for the album release that Friday on the 5th. It'll be on a Tuesday, the listening party, and the album release will be on a Friday. Alright? And I'm quite pleased with this album. I played Anchor a few weeks back to close out one of the episodes of this podcast. And I'm pleased with it. I'm pleased with the way the album turned out. I think it's one of my better produced albums. I put a lot of thought into it to make it fit a certain vision, and I think that's evident. So, that's the news that's coming up with me. I don't have any live shows currently in the works to support it, because again, I don't do live shows very often. I'm not in the best... I mean, I don't want people to think that I'm in poor health, but I'm not in, like, exceptionally great health to the point where I can go out, like, I can't do a tour or anything like that. There's no way I'd be able to manage that. But, who knows? I may have something come up some point during the summer just to do some support for the album after it releases. Who knows? Maybe one or two things. Nothing real major. Nothing that I'm, like, want to get everybody's hopes up for sure. Not until I hear something concrete or any serious offers. Other home news. Next month we are... Not that you have to worry about this because it's like, oh, it's a big event. Not really. We're taking the first of the kittens to the vet to have his neuter done because he has decided he wants to be a grown cat, and he's starting to spray around the house, which is a bit much to keep track of. His brother hasn't started yet. They're twins. They're from the same litter. They're the same age. And his brother hasn't blossomed quite as quickly. But he's decided he's a big man. He's a tough guy. He's going to hang out with the big cats. He's going to start marking his territory. So I've been following around all day today. And if I catch him spraying on something, I have a special no-spray spray. It's like an anti-spray. You know, it's they're supposed to smell and be like, oh, I don't want to go here. And you clean up what they did, and then you wipe this spray in place of it and wipe that around so they smell like, oh, never mind. I marked this spot earlier, but now I don't like it. And they won't continue to spray in the same spot. So you have to go around and make sure in the house that you're keeping things clean and keeping them from going crazy with that, because they will... It doesn't take long. Excuse me, had a couple sneezes. It doesn't take long for a blooming male cat to run roughshod on your house if they start to spray and you don't get them neutered quick enough. And the soonest we can get him in, the dates the vets had available was in late April, which is next month. So I'm going to do my best to keep up with him and keep the house clean and keep it from turning into his personal smell-o-vision until then, which is not the most fun I'm ever going to have in life, but we do our best. We do what we're going to do. I wanted to do an update on something. You know, I've been following along with what I call the local wildlife. I did a whole episode where I talked a bit about this, and I've been following their misadventures. It's local agitators who have a problem with the local city council and the mayor and various other city officials for one reason or another. Most of the time it's because they got hit with traffic charges or a fine or something, and it makes them upset and they're mad about it. So now they're raising a fuss and they're trying to do whatever legal thing they can to get back at the city, right? It's real petty stuff, and they make a big noise and they make a big mess and they shout and complain at council meetings and things, and they're eminently forgettable if they would stop talking for a few seconds. One of the latest things that happened, and this is ridiculous, because I follow along with some of these people's misadventures on Facebook to see what's going on locally, because that's where I'm located on social media, and that's where they tend to go to flock and to raise their complaints, and they tag the city and all this other kind of stuff to get attention. Because if they can't get attention from local people who know that they're crackpots, they'll try to get attention from social media. So I keep an eye on them, mostly for my own entertainment. I don't interact with them. I don't call them names. I don't drop in their comments and troll them. You know, it's not my policy to get into flame wars with people. I don't do that. There's no point in arguing online, because you can't see the other person. You don't know their emotional state. They don't know yours, and nobody knows if anything is a joke. And they're always going to assume in an argument, anytime that you're arguing with somebody online, the person on the other end is almost always going to assume that they're winning the argument and that anything you say is BS and you're just pulling facts out of your backside, and that there's no convincing them, right? They will never agree to your point. So I just follow along, and I don't talk. I don't interact with them. I don't rile them up. I don't make big issues with them. I don't want to be involved in that part, but I do keep an eye on it. It's a way of staying informed on the neighborhood happenings without going out and having to witness it firsthand, because I don't want to actually interact with these people in a public setting. And there's a person apparently trying to attach themselves to one of the bigger groups. He got ticketed for... Let me pull it up, because it's going to be a crazy story. Okay? It's going to be a crazy story. I'm going to find it. I have some of this stuff copied down. And I'm not going to name any names because, again, we don't do public shaming on this show. We don't call people out like that because I don't think that's fair to them. They can't defend themselves first because they're not here. And for another, I don't want anybody who's following me to start bullying anyone and start picking on them and be like, just because I talked about some things they did. So this person, they were ticketed for improper lane usage and driving under a suspended license. And so they were arraigned. They went to court. They went to court without representation. They chose not to take a public defender. They chose not to retain a lawyer, and they pled not guilty. Whatever, no big deal. And they set trial. The defendant failed to appear to the trial. And what this person did instead was they made 3 filings. They filed 3 legal documents with the court. And they've paid this out of pocket because you have to pay for this. Okay. They put in a notice of federal witness intimidation and RICO standing against the city of Canton. Okay. Which means they are accusing the city of a conspiracy involving multiple people against this individual. They made a motion of a commercial notice of lien against the courthouse, as if like they had any sort of implied ownership, or when a bank, if you forfeit on a credit card or something, they might, or if you're forfeit on a mortgage, then they might put a lien on things that you own, which means they can take your possessions to pay for the money that you owe them, right? He entered a legal notice of a lien on the courthouse. And then he also apparently made a motion of a certificate of filing internationally. He accused the city of terrorism, and he says, according to his legal filings, that he filed terrorism charges with the International Court. This is the court where they try human rights abuses. Like if you're a war criminal from some third world country and you've been causing genocide and you get caught and you get deposed, then the International Court can try you for crimes against humanity. And so he's accusing the city of a conspiracy against him for crimes against humanity and putting legal notice on the courthouse that they will, if they don't answer quote unquote according to his brief, they will forfeit their rights to the courthouse and they'll have to vacate the premises and be evicted. Do you understand? Like, does that sound as crazy as it is? Because it's crazy. None of that is going to go through. And he filed these things, and then the final part currently on the case, because I'm sure they're just like puzzling through, like, how are we supposed to handle all this? The final thing here is that they've received the motions, they reviewed it, and no action is being taken. They haven't finished the court case. Like, the judgment hasn't been handed down yet. He hasn't gotten his sentence yet. He failed to appear, so they're definitely like, well, you didn't show up to court, and we're going to, when you do that, then they have a default judgment against you usually. But instead they get these documents from him via the mail, by like fax or whatever. And what are you thinking when you get that kind of stuff if you're a local government official being accused of international terrorism and RICO charges, and that this person who is getting, remember, his charges are improper lane usage and driving on a suspended license. He didn't hurt anybody, he didn't assault anybody, he didn't steal anything, he didn't brandish a weapon, it's relatively minor stuff that's probably a fine, and he'll probably get the forfeiture on his license is going to get pushed back farther. It's not the end of his world, right? But then they get these documents from him accusing him of them and saying that they have to vacate the premises or be evicted. And they're just like, no, we're not doing anything about all that. I'm waiting for the update on the court docket, because I look up court dockets for my own fun and amusement. And I'm waiting for the entry to go through where they've just flat out dismissed all of that and said, no, now you owe us this much in fines. Because that's what's going to happen. I don't know if the guy legitimately has mental, like he believes this stuff, or if it's a stunt, it comes off as a stunt to me. But in his interactions with the other local agitators on Facebook, he's adamant that it's true. He's adamant that he believes it and that it's going to happen. And even they're kind of like, well, we'll have our own experts look at it and we'll get back to you. Because he's trying to recruit them in it. Like, he's trying to say, yeah, we can all kick them out of the building with this. And some of the other people who are slightly smarter than that are like, I don't think so. But they don't want to flat out say, like, no, man, that's not going to work, because they don't know if he's crazy or not. They don't know. Obviously, people got some issues in this town. I mean, what would you do if you got all that stuff? I don't know. I'd just be like, you know what? Just dismiss all of it day one and just move on with the trial and not reference it again. Because what else? Are you going to take it seriously? Like, how are you going to let everything drag out court proceedings to file against this stuff? It makes me laugh. Like, I don't know. I don't know how anybody can take themselves seriously with this kind of stuff. But I also don't know what it's like to have that level of mental strangeness going on. There's other things that happen online. Like, I don't know if I've mentioned it before, but Instagram in particular has a massive racism problem. Like, a serious racism problem. I've stumbled upon no less than 3 or 4 profiles in my limited circle of interactions. These aren't people that I know, and they're not people that the people I know are connected to, but they're just like, oh yeah, here's suggestions, that because when you don't follow enough people, it suggests, here's all these people putting out content. And on at least 4 separate occasions, it's been people who just constantly post anti-Jewish stereotypes and anti-African stereotypes and all kinds of things, and then they get their profiles taken down because Instagram eventually figures it out, like, oh, this is racist, and they get rid of it, spreading hate speech. And a lot of these people are on Facebook too, and then when they're constantly getting hit for these things, they'll make a racist post, get away with it, so they'll make another, get away with it, they'll make another, and as that goes on, eventually, if it's Facebook, then they'll be like, okay, well, we see there's a pattern here, and our algorithm has noticed you've made some pretty hateful posts, so now we're going to limit your interaction with people. You can't comment on things, you can't put reactions on things. Your account isn't gone yet, but we're going to tell you that you've been bad. Okay, settle it down. And they'll be confused. They'll wonder why. They'll be like, why can't I read comments? I haven't done anything bad. And then, because Facebook always gives you a reason. They always give you a reason for these things. It's not, and they'll post screenshots saying, oh, they didn't even give me a reason. And it's just the post of the fact that they were restricted with bits of it cut off. So they're following, the people who follow them won't see, oh, this is the reason why. Because they want to defend. They want to defend themselves. Be like, oh, obviously it's against my First Amendment rights and it's censorship. No, it's blatant racism. it's blatantly being hateful to people, and they told you that. But they always act so confused, like they're victims. Like, oh, I don't even know what I did. Yes, you did. You were blatantly racist and hateful. You were blatantly racist and hateful. I mean, what else would it be? But clearly, it's, like I said, it's trampling on their First Amendment rights, and it's censorship and blah, blah, blah. And there's a huge culture of people like that across Meta platforms, which is Facebook and Instagram. Now, they say that there's a lot of this that happens on Twitter/X. and I don't know if I saw a whole lot during my brief time there. If you remember, I was on both X and Blue Sky for a short amount of time when we were under the old branding. And once that went away, I didn't feel the need to continue because I wasn't being competitive with that branding anymore. And that's the only reason I had those, to remain competitive in a particular market, and now that's irrelevant. So, but people say that X fosters a lot of hate speech and things, and like I said, I didn't see a whole lot of that when I was there the second time. The first time I was there, when it was new, I had given it a try, long before stuff like Blue Sky was in existence, way before that. I tried X when it was still Twitter, and it was always people arguing and looking for reasons to argue and posting blatantly argumentative things just to rile people up. Like the amount of false information and just crazy one-liners on Twitter was ridiculous. It was awful. It was like a bunch of kids shouting the dumbest things imaginable in a large room and no one telling them to stop. And then eventually you'd have people agreeing or disagreeing in different sides and picking fights with each other and chasing other people out of the room. That was Twitter. And when I was on X the second time, after it was not Twitter, when it was then X, it seemed to not be quite that level of bad, but I didn't spend a lot of time there, so I can't definitively say that. When I was on Blue Sky, it was just people complaining. It was constant complaining, and it was usually because Blue Sky was set up as, and this isn't me saying this as a derogatory insult, it's just this is how it was set up, from what I understand, as a left-leaning alternative to the right-leaning Twitter/X. Now, this is the view from the outside and what the people who made these things are claiming. I'm not saying either platform leans any way or the other. That's what the claim was. Now, when I was on Blue Sky, you saw a lot of people who claimed to be on one side or the other, and then it was just constant complaints. There was also a lot of problems with blatant pornography on Blue Sky, which there were also that kind of thing on Twitter and X as well. I mean, I'm not going to say there wasn't, but Blue Sky had very similar issues to what X had, just from the other side of the coin. You still had people who shouldn't have been given the amplification that they got. I'm not saying they shouldn't have had a voice, because everybody deserves to have a voice. You just don't have the right to force people to listen. Right? You can say whatever you want, but people don't have to listen if they don't want to. That's the difference. That's free speech. You can say what you want, but people don't have to listen or take it seriously. And places like Blue Sky and X, they amplified certain voices. If you can get enough subscribers and enough followers, then you get boosted in the algorithms and your content gets more visible. And it happens a lot with people who really don't deserve that, because they're saying things that are awful. They're saying things that are terrible. They're saying things that are not fair to other people, that are rotten. And again, I'm not going to say they don't have a right to say them. I'm not going to tell them they can't say them. I'm just saying that I don't want to listen. And plenty of other people don't want to listen either. But because they've got a certain group of vocal followers that boosts them into the AI-powered algorithm, it forces everyone to listen, whether they want to or not. And so Blue Sky and X are very, very similar. I've not been on Truth Social. I know, I assume a lot about what I would find there. So I never joined, and I am not going to. I'm not interested. Just the fact that it's called the Truth Social sets me on edge about it. Because, Not because of who set it up, not because of who is the main player there. I know some people are going to be like, oh yeah, well it's because of such and such, and yeah, I'm not particularly pleased with some of the things that guy has done lately either. Again, I didn't vote for him. I'm not in his corner. I'm not a MAGA person. I don't have a hat. So I don't, I didn't pay any money towards any of the causes associated with him or any of that. But I'm also not on. I guess there's a Facebook version of all that called Threads, and I've seen some of those come up because they're always trying to convince me to sign up for Threads. So they'll, like, when you're going through Facebook, you've got all the posts by the people and the brands you follow and whatnot, but then they'll also have the advertisements, the sponsored ads and everything, and then they'll have the panels of the reels and the stories and whatnot, so you can tune into that. But then they also have Threads every so often, like, here's a sample of what's on Threads today, and you'll see a few people talking about different things. And most of the time, everything that I've seen come up has been some pretty garbage stuff. As bad or worse than anything I saw on X, Twitter, Blue Sky, etc. And I think a lot of it, is me. I don't care for that style of social interaction. I think it's too spur of the moment. I think it's too off the cuff. I think it's too much firing from the hip. I don't think there's enough accountability for anything anybody says in those short blast posts, little rapid fire. I don't think there's enough accountability for any of that. The attention spans are too small and everybody moves on quick. So I'm not a fan, and I don't use any of those platforms anymore. I don't see the benefit, and I'm not interested. I still don't use TikTok. I don't care for short form videos like that anyway. Like, I don't like shorts on YouTube, although I do use them as part of my business model because you kind of have to. I'm a YouTube person. And in addition to my normal video content, I put out shorts every so often to detail different things about business and to bring promo attention and various things. I don't rely on them as a source of prime entertainment, however. I don't use them as the core of what I'm doing. And Instagram has them. Facebook has them. All these different places have those little short form things, all trying to compete with TikTok, which I don't use. And I don't like that either. I'm traditionalist, and I'm probably behind the times, and I'm going to get a lot of people to say, well, you just don't understand. Sure, and that's valid. That's a valid take, that I just don't understand. You may have noticed that I haven't stuck to a particular topic with this episode. It's because it's late, and it's because I didn't get a chance to properly really consider any major central theme, so we're going to keep kind of jumping around. And I've said before, so, this is probably getting old now, all the times that I've mentioned it, but this podcast style is very stream of consciousness. Whatever I'm thinking of in the moment is what comes out. And because I haven't had the chance to take any sort of notes or to really come up with something concrete, this one's more erratic than others. And you'll have that. Like, half of my episodes are pretty erratic, I think. They just kind of jump all over the place. And if you don't like that, you don't like that, and that's okay. I'm not going to make you tune in. But I think you should give it a chance, because who knows what I'm going to talk about next. Right? And one of the things I am going to bring up that I was doing up until recently is I was playing, there's a new event in the game Diablo 4. Now, this is not the first game to use the seasonal event model. And this is something that came along with games that were primarily online and multiplayer leaning, where they would you'd have a story mode of some kind, you'd complete it, and then they would have what they called end game content, which was usually repeatable dungeons or high level things so that you could collect loot in the game. You could collect prizes in the game, and basically, and this all kinds of stuff. So end game content is kind of the king of modern gaming, unfortunately, which I hate because it prevents developers from creating more and better story content. But whatever. So they do seasonal events, where each event in a season can be anywhere from a month to like 3 months to however long. And it's, you have to play during this time span and play these parts of the event, these quests, these bits of content, and you'll get bonus things that you could only get during the event. You get certain costumes, or you get certain, and it's all digital, of course. It's all for your in-game character, right? You get certain prizes that are season specific. If you're don't play the season, you don't get them. And if you play the season and you don't unlock everything, then you don't unlock everything. You don't get them if you're not part of it. And most of the time with Diablo 4, I played the first couple of seasons until it became clear that they weren't really offering much. They'll give you different armor setups and things like that, but it's all cosmetic, right? And I didn't like the look, and I still don't like the look of most of it. It's overdone, it's kind of cartoony, it's more than what I'm into. So I started skipping the seasonal events. And I don't feel bad about that. I've missed out on a lot of exclusive gear and appearances and loot and banners, and I really don't care because I didn't like the looks of it anyway. But the recent one that they just did, it's going on now, as of this recording. And as of this recording, you will still have like 40 days to do it. Alright, so if you're listening to this a few days away from now, take that into account. It's 40 minus that many days if you're going to play it, right? And if you're like seeing this 3 months from now, well, sorry, it's long over. You missed it. But it's a crossover event with the Doom franchise, which I am a huge fan of. I'm a huge fan of Doom. All the way back into the early 90s, my dad had Doom 2, some of the extra content that you could purchase and things, and you could get from the early days of dial-up internet. I played Doom 3 brand new when it first came out on PC, and then later on console. I didn't play Doom 64 because I didn't have that system. I didn't have a system that could run it, but when it came out, but I did play Doom 3. And then I played Doom 2016, which kind of redid the franchise a little bit. Awesome game. Doom Eternal, which was the follow-up, which is my favorite Doom game of all time. It's fantastic. I get into arguments with people about it. I think it's a great game. I think it's a fantastic game. It has everything I've ever wanted from a modern Doom game. It has the speed, the mobility, the kills, the gore, everything. And the newest one in the franchise is Doom: The Dark Ages, which takes place before... it's supposed to, in the timeline, it takes place before Doom 64. So after the first two, before Doom 64. And hence before... Like, Doom 3 kind of stands out. You're not the same Marine in that game. So... But The Dark Ages is the newest one, and it's decent. I liked it. I got 100% of the console achievements. I completed basically everything there was to do in the game. All the challenges, most everything. I'm only missing out on a few things that are kind of inconsequential. But they're doing a crossover event with Diablo 4. where you can get Doom-themed equipment, weapons, armor, etc. And I'm into that. I like that. I got real into it, and so I made a seasonal character, and I've been fighting my way through it, and I have finished most everything there is to do in this season. I thought it was going to take me longer, and I was putting in extra time. I was playing during the day, in between my daughter's lunch and her game time. So I'd play like an hour at a time during the day, and then I would do streaming in the evenings during my normal stream time, and then I would play in the off time. So I put in a lot of time because I didn't think I was going to be able to unlock everything within... It's like a 47-day event. And there's considerably less time now, of course, like I said. But when it started, it was like 47, 48 days. One of their shorter events. They're usually longer. They're usually 2-3 months long. And so I put in a lot of time, and I managed to unlock all the cosmetics that I wanted to, and just about everything else that I could ever want. So I've accomplished what I meant to in a short amount of time. And now I've kind of run out of things to do. So that's the other problem with seasonal stuff. If you put in a serious effort towards it, and you unlock all the stuff you want to unlock, then that's it. And you have to wait for the event to be over to do anything else of consequence. Otherwise, you're just running the event stuff and getting the event currency, getting duplicates of things you already have. You know, if you have fun playing the game, then it doesn't really matter. But I get bored with it. Because you can't replay the story missions. You can only redo the end game dungeons constantly and just grind stuff out. And there's no real new story stuff. There's supposed to be new content coming out in a couple of months. So there's supposed to be new actual story content coming out soon. But we'll see. It's always kind of takes too long. It's drawn out. But the Doom event, the Doom crossover event, is happening now, as of this recording, with Diablo 4. If you're into that kind of stuff and you want to get those cosmetics, do it now. Don't wait, because your time is running short. It doesn't take a long time to do it if you spend dedicated time each day doing it. And you don't have to do 12 hours of gaming every day. You don't have to, take up your entire day doing this kind of stuff. But as of this recording, you have less time than you did the day before. Right? And if it's like 2-3 months later, then you're out of luck. You are out of luck, my friend. What else do we have? Like, what else can we end with? Because we've still got at least 10 minutes to go here before we're finished. I don't want to cut the episode short. Another thing that irritates me is that AI has gotten worse online, especially on social media, in that now people are attempting to take over other people's social media accounts just so they can take over the fan base that they have and start pumping out low-rent AI content for clout, attention, and for monetization. I was following a guy, and his main account, his main profile, is still secure. But he was in like 2 bands. Well, he had his profile, then he had his band profile, then he had another band profile from another band he was in, and he was the administration for. And then he had a group dedicated for his music fans, right? He had the whole works. All of those, except for his personal page, somehow got under the control of somebody else who locked him out. They made themselves an admin, changed the password, kicked him out, took control of all of his various pages and groups, and now they're putting out AI slop. And I don't know if he'll be able to get them back because Facebook is kind of bad at fixing those. But a word of warning to once again, if you get emails offering you song placements or offering you podcast placements or whatever, check the email address, follow up on it, see where it's from. Do not give anybody passwords to any of your accounts, whether it's your email or your social media. If you get approached by somebody saying, oh yeah, we're going to place your music all across the internet, but we need access to your account, that's a scam. They don't need access to your account. Nobody does. Okay? That's not how online advertising works. That's not how playlist pitching works. They don't need any of that. Conversely, if somebody is in your group and they're helping moderate or they're whatever, and they say, hey, you know what, I can be a big help. Make me an admin and I'll keep an eye on troublemakers for you. Unless you know them personally, like you have met in real life and you've had real life interactions with for more than a few months at a time, don't do it. It's a scam. They will take your information. They'll remove you as an admin, as a moderator, and they'll take over your things. And there's not much you can do because you gave them access. It's not like a hacker. People always say, oh, I've been hacked. That's not hacking. Hacking means they went through the code, they brute forced your password, they found out all that themselves outside of whatever. And that's very rare for Facebook profiles and things like that. Like, nobody's going to, unless you're a government official with millions of followers and another government wants to make you look bad, or another political movement, no one is going to hack you because you're not important enough. All right? Real hackers are looking for information that changes the game. They're looking for facts and figures and documents and things that are world-shaking, that they can either use for blackmail or that they can use for whatever political purposes they want. But they're looking, a real hacker is not looking for somebody's Facebook profile. They're not. And they're not going to hack your profile just to put out AI video slop for monetization. They're not. It's not going to happen. So the only way they're going to get access to what you have is if you provide them access somehow. Okay? So never, ever, ever give anybody access. Like, I have plenty of people that are even in close friends that I don't give access to my pages for. I don't, like, I've only had one page in the past, I think, that I made somebody else an admin of, and it's Rob from This Uncanny Earth. I know him personally, and he's not going to hack me. He's not going to steal my shit, you know? I made him an admin in case something happened and I got a profile shut down or something for whatever reason. It might have been during the virus years when I was going off on a tear about all that, and Facebook was banning people for what they said was misinformation, which, just as an aside, I was, for anything that I ever said during that time, if you were following any of my posts, because I was vehemently against the masking and the quarantining and all that other kind of stuff, anytime I posted an article or a fact or a figure or an analysis of a situation, none of it was hit by fact checkers, none of it was refuted, none of it was shut down, none of it was banned. The only time any of that ever got hit with anything was one time when I made a joke because I saw a meme about virus-infected toilet paper. I saw a meme about it. And I reposted it, but I also said in the repost, I said, you know what, I know this is fake, I think it's hilarious, blah, blah, blah. And even with my acknowledgement that I know that it's not real, don't get worked up about it, I just thought it was funny, even with that acknowledgement visible there, that's the one that the fact checkers said, oh, we've better add a disclaimer to that. And so they added that little block that says, some of the information in this post might be factually wrong, and explained why. And I'm like, the irony of the one post that I acknowledged flat out, I know this is false. It's not something I'm trying to defend as true. It's not something that I believe is true. It's fake. And that's the one that they hit that was fake. Nothing else I ever posted during that time was found to be false, because none of it was false. And I made extra sure that all of my sources were good. I'm not going to go over and relitigate all that, but I just, as a thing, I make sure that when I post stuff that it's not just knee-jerk stuff that's bullshit. So, but that's the only time I think I ever had anybody as a backup, just in case, because Facebook was kind of on a tear around that time, much like I was, without really paying attention to whether anybody was saying anything false or not. So again, don't give anybody password privileges. Never give anybody access to anything you're doing. If you're part of a record label and your record label is going to run your social media stuff, have them set up a new one for you. Have them set it up themselves. Don't give them one that you already have. Don't give them ownership. Say, okay, well, here, I'll shut down my band page or put it in archives, and then you can make a new one that you can run for promotional purposes, and we'll interact on that fashion. Work that into your contract. Don't give anyone at any level access to your personal stuff. Unless, of course, like I said, you know them personally, like you can go physically talk to them and see them, and it's been more than... You've known them for a while, right? It's not just, oh yeah, I met this guy a few weeks back and he knows his stuff. I'm going to let him deal with my social media. No. Don't do that. Don't do that. I run a promotions company. Uncanny Media does promotional work, and I've never, and I never will, ask anybody, oh yeah, just give me access to your account and I'll make sure that everything's promoted. No, I don't need that, I don't want that, and I don't want you to give me that. If I'm good at my job, I don't need any of that access. I can do my job well for you without that access. So, but this episode has gone all over the place. Like I said, I was flustered. I had things going on, and I still have to do a Twitch stream for the night. I'm going to do it without commentary and without the mic and without the webcam on. I think I'm just going to play a game for a few hours and leave it at that. And, because I don't feel like being interactive. I just don't. But I do need to put the content out because content is king, and that's what we do. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to finish off these Guinness. I'm probably going to go through all 3 of these bottles because, why not? Then crash out, go to sleep. Crash out, from where I'm coming from, doesn't mean, have a freak out and, have a meltdown and blow up. Where I come from, crashing out means you're ridiculously tired and you're going to sleep. Because that's what it was when I was growing up. Whatever the new definition is doesn't make any sense to me, but to me, crashing out means you're just going to go to sleep. So that's what I'm going to do after my stream and after these beers. And hopefully next week I'll have something a bit more focused. I do plan on having something a bit more focused than what I had tonight. And I'm sure everybody expects better. Maybe they don't. Maybe you've been listening to this podcast long enough that you don't expect better from me. You expect it to kind of go into this rambling nonsense heap. But that's what we're doing. I'm going to get out of here. Thanks for listening. Have a good night.